Hey, what's up, tubers? It's Tony, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to use a helicoil and a thread repair kit to fix busted threads. What are some of the examples of why you would use a helicoil? You are installing engine mounts, screwing in a bolt, you strip the threads, thread repair. You were replacing the water pump on your vehicle, you broke the bolt off, thread repair, okay? I'm also going to be talking to you about how to use a tap and die set. This is for those of you that do not know what a tap and die set is or have never used it. You'll know how to use it after today. I'm going to talk to you about how to use this nuts and bolt gauge to verify what type of bolt you have in your hand or nut, okay? You can find this particular gauge online at boltsandnuts.com. It's about $10. It's okay. You can find similar gauges like this at Home Depot and Lowe's for about $2. Here is the other gauge from Home Depot or Lowe's. Just wanted you to see it. Again, about $2 or so. Okay. For those of you who are going to be my one-time tappers, you can go to your local auto parts store and you can purchase an individual tap set. It will come with extra helicoils, some sort of helicoil insertion tool, and as long as you provide the correct information, you will get the correct size tap, okay? These are about $26 to $35 individually, okay? For those of you who are going to be tapping a little bit more than that, you can go to Harbor Freight, Walmart, your local auto parts store, and buy a tap and die set, okay? Comes with different size taps, a handle, okay, screwdriver, and it comes with a thread pitch tool, which I'll talk about a little bit later, okay? In that set also comes with a bunch of dies, and dies are used for repairing bad threads. So if you had a bolt that has bad threads and your screw won't screw on or off because of it, well, you use a die to fix that. We'll come back to this a little bit later as well. What I did was I went to Amazon, guys, and for $60 I bought this thread repair kit. It is awesome. Comes with helicoils, metric, standard. Comes with the correct size drill bit you would use, tang breaker, insertion tool, and the correct size tap. So it takes the guesswork out of trying to figure out what do I need. I don't need to rely on anyone anymore to give me the wrong information. You can do the job correctly the first time yourself. Before we get started, I want you guys that don't know this, anything that starts with an M is for the metric system. It's a metric bolt. If you see 3/8 or 5/16, that's usually referring to the US system, okay? In the metric system, they measure by millimeter, okay? In the US system, we measure by inches, okay? Just so you know that. Now, let's get started, guys. I'm going to try and keep the video as brief as I can, but I'm not going to rush when I'm trying to give good information and help people. So, let's say you have a bolt in your hand and you need to fix something. The first thing you always need to know about a bolt is you need to know the diameter of the bolt, meaning the long shank part, how wide it is. You need to know the thread pitch of the bolt, and you need to know the length of the bolt, okay? That's for the metric system. For the US system, you need to know the diameter of the bolt, but in the US systems, it is thread per inch, okay? Not thread pitch, threads per inch, okay? And then the length of the bolt, okay? So guys, let's say you're home, you're working on installing your water pump. You have 10 bolts, you installed 9 of them correctly. That neighbor next door that you have a crush on, she came out and you screwed this bolt in to this hole crooked. That is called cross-threading. You've more than likely messed the threads up inside of this hole, okay? That's scenario number one. Ladies, I'm not going to forget about you. You're outside replacing the brakes on your car. Your next door neighbor, he's hot, comes out shirtless. You screw that bolt down in that hole one too many times. Did you turn it? It broke the bolt off right here. So there's that much of the bolt inside of the hole. Regardless of whether you messed the threads up or you broke the bolt off inside of the hole, you're still going to have to get the correct size drill bit and drill. The only difference is if you broke the bolt off, you're going to need to get a good hole punch, punch the center of the bolt that broke off, and you have two options. You can try and drill the broken part out, or you can use a bolt extractor tool. Why are you punching a hole in the center of the broken bolt? It serves as a guide for your drill bit or the extraction tool so that you can turn it out correctly and or drill it out by keeping the drill straight. Okay? So just so that we are there. So now that you have the problem, how do I know what size drill bit, what size tap to use, what size helicoil do I need to put in that hole so I can do the job correctly the first time? Get your gauge chart. This chart will make, whatever one you get will make sense once you study it. On this particular chart, it has a US ruler on the bottom, a millimeter or metric ruler on the top. It has holes on the bottom for the US side and holes up top for the metric side, okay? And to identify the bolt, again, you need to know the diameter of the bolt, so let's do that. You can start sticking this bolt into different holes until you find one that fits. Nope, that doesn't work. So I tried 1/4. I'm going to come over to M6, and that's snug. So I know that the diameter of this bolt is 6 millimeters in diameter. I come down to millimeter and look under 6, and it tells me that my thread pitch is either going to be 1.0 or 0.75. On the back of this ruler or gauge, there is a thread pitch section, okay? One for US and one for metric. I don't really care for it myself, okay? I think it could have been done a little bit better. So what I do is I rely on my thread pitch tool, okay? What you do is, for those of you who've never used this, open up your thread pitch tool and you're gonna see a whole bunch of saw-like devices, okay? They're all numbered, okay? You're just looking for either 1.0 or 0.75. Remember, your gauge kind of helped you out. It narrowed it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 1.0 and notice that the teeth fit around the threads of my bolt perfectly. So I know my thread pitch is 1.0. To verify that, you can go to 0.75 or any of the other ones, put it over the threads and notice they don't fit. They just run right across, okay? So now I know the diameter is 6, the thread pitch is 1.0, and I'm going to measure the bolt. It is 25 millimeters in length. To verify the length of the bolt, guys, a lot of times you can just go here and measure it, or you can go down there and measure it. See, it's kind of off. It's not exactly 1 inch. So I know it's metric because it fits perfectly, okay? So with that information in hand, what do I do? Well, you can contact your local auto parts store and try and get help, talk to a friend, use Google, whatever source you want to use. But with one of these thread kits, come to M6 1.0, There's the correct size helicoil that I'll need. There's the correct size drill bit, tang breaker, insertion tool, and there's the correct size tap. So no guesswork. It's all right there in front of me. Well worth 60 bucks, right? So then what you do, guys, is you take that information. You have the correct size drill bit. You want to drill straight. You want to tap straight. Now I'm using wood today because I just don't feel like dealing with aluminum or metal just for a video. You undoubtedly are going to be drilling into metal and tapping into aluminum. You want to get yourself a can of cutting oil and keep it on hand. It helps the process and makes it a little bit smoother. Okay? So drill straight, tap straight, get your helicoil insertion tool, insert your helicoil, turn it in slowly and evenly until it goes just beneath the surface of your hole. And why just beneath the surface of your hole? If you're installing a bolt for a water pump, you want to have it level to the surface. You don't want the bolt sticking out because you want that water pump seal to be pulled in so you don't have a leak. So it's very important that you take your helicoil down just beneath the surface. Then all helicoils have a tang on the bottom of it. You want to stick something down in that hole and break the tang off, okay? Why do you need to break the tang off? Because you could accidentally turn this helicoil out by accident. When you break the tang off, that helicoil is permanently inserted into your hole, okay? Now, let's say, where's my bolt? Let's say you were drilling this hole, guys, and you drilled it really wide and messed the hole up. You just really messed the hole up. Now your M6 helicoil won't fit in there. You have nothing for your bolts to grab onto. You just messed up. How do you fix it? You can move up to the next category, M8. So don't panic. But you want to make sure if this is a national cores bolt, you want to use a national cores bolt. I just have a regular M8 bolt here, okay? And you're going to do the same thing. You are going to get your gauge, do your handy dandy diameter, okay? You're going to get your thread pitch tool and do that, verify your threads, okay? And then you want to verify the length of the bolt. This bolt was 25 millimeters in length. This one here is 25 millimeters in length also. But again, you want to use the same type of bolt. If it's a national cores bolt, you'll make sure you use a national cores bolt that is a M8, okay? So, with that information, again, you go over to your handy dandy thread kit. You get your drill bit, drill straight. You get your tap, tap straight. And guys, when you are tapping, okay, hold tight for a moment. Okay, I've already tapped this hole, but I wanted to point out something to you. When you put, after you drill, you stick your tap in that hole. If your tap falls straight into that hole before you start tapping it, then you probably use the wrong size drill bit. If you have the correct size tap, you've done everything correctly, you want to turn a couple turns, spray some cutting oil, back out, spray a little more cutting oil, turn, spray some cutting oil, back out, spray some cutting oil, and turn slowly and evenly until you tap that hole correctly. You will know when you have bottomed out, because when you get to the bottom, you will feel true resistance. That is your sign to back off, okay? For those of you who are asking, what does the length have to do with anything? Well, we know that this bolt is 25 millimeters long. You do not want to drill deeper than the length of your bolt. So I always take tape, mark it right around the head, so I know just how deep I need to go, okay? So if I have drilled my hole correctly and tapped correctly, get your insertion tool for your helicoil, the correct size helicoil, insert it, and then what you want to do is go to your hole and as evenly and as straight as you possibly can, you want to turn that helicoil into the hole. Hold tight, guys. I grabbed the wrong size helicoil. There we go, right there. So take your insertion tool, put your helicoil over it, go to your hole, and you want to apply a little bit of pressure, push down, and just start turning your helicoil until it goes just beneath the surface of your hole, okay? Don't be afraid to run your fingernail across it. If you grab the helicoil like I'm doing now, before you break that tang off, give it another turn to drive it down. And now it goes straight across, okay? So if you've done this part correctly, take your tang breaker. And the thing about this thread repair kit is it comes with a tang breaker for every size helicoil you use. This one will not fit in a very small helicoil, so that was smart of them. So take anything you have and break that tang. So let me show you that. Notice that there's that tang down in there. If you don't break that tang off, guys, you could accidentally turn out that helicoil. So breaking that tang off will make sure that that helicoil will never come out. Okay? Now you can take your bolt and turn it in. So the only difference is in this particular thread size for the water pump job, remember you put 9 bolts in correctly and messed one up. Your bolts should look just like this. Okay? They should be from the same division. The only difference is one bolt will be slightly bigger. Okay? That's the only difference. You'll have 9 like this, and then you'll have one sort of like this with thicker threads. Okay? So just be mindful of that. You want to use the same bolt category if you mess up and you have to move from M6 up to M8. Okay? I hope I made sense with that. Now, let's do the US version. And remember, one more time, the metric system, anytime you see M, that stands for metric. MM stands for metric millimeter. That's the metric system. The US version, when you see 3/8 or 5/16, you know you're dealing with a US bolt. Metric is thread pitch. US is threads per inch. So how do I identify that I have a US bolt in my hand? Same process, guys. You can start sticking it in all these different holes to find your diameter. So I know that it's 3/8 already. Fits nice and snug. I can also verify again what type of bolt it is. Go up to the metric side and notice that it doesn't measure up correctly. Come down to the US side and it measures a perfect 1.5 inches. When measuring a bolt, always measure underneath the head of the bolt to the bottom of the bolt. So I know that my diameter is 3/8, and it tells me, it helps me out, my thread pitch is either going to be 16 or 24 threads per inch. On the back of this little gauge, guys, again, you can go to the US side and you're going to try and match this up in 16 or 24. I really don't care for this myself. I stick to my thread pitch gauge, okay? So I'm going to open up my thread pitch gauge, and it told me that it was, oh, I'm sorry. It's not metric, it's US. Dumb me, that's a good point. So how do I measure the threads per inch, guys? I know the diameter is 3/8. To get the thread pitch, it's a whole different story. So bear with me right quick. What you have to do is measure the bolt, and you're measuring how many threads are in 1 inch. So we know the whole total length of the bolt is 1.5 inches long. What I do is I come back here, and the bolt is roughly a little bit longer, just a hair longer than 1 inch. Okay? So what you do, and bear with me please, you have to count each of these little holes. So or grooves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I know there are 16 threads per inch in this bolt. So my diameter for this US bolt is 3/8 wide. The threads per inch is 16, and the bolt is 1.5 inches long. You're going to do the same thing. Go over to your thread repair kit or wherever you're getting the information for the correct size drill bit, tap, helicoil, and you're going to drill your hole. Okay? Drill your hole straight. You're going to tap your hole. And again, make sure when you're tapping, you're using cutting oil. You can use cutting oil for drilling as well. When you're done, go ahead and insert your bolt, guys. And that's it. It's just that easy, okay? I know this is a lengthy video, guys, but I'm trying to give good information, so I will not rush. This gauge will also tell you what type of nut you're working with, okay? So if you have a nut in your hand, I'll get with my nut there, how do you determine what type of bolt it goes along with? Oh, I do too many things. So what you do with this nut in your hand, these ends are for determining what size nut you're dealing with. You just put your nut over the end. It doesn't fit. Oh, it fits. So I know that this is a 3/8 nut that goes with a 3/8 bolt. Okay? Same thing on this side. This gauge is really good from boltsandnuts.com, and it'll make sense. Any gauge you use will make sense once you study it. It will become your best friend, especially if you're dealing with thread repair and identifying what type of bolt you need to use or you're using. Okay? Just remember that. Undoubtedly, guys, for those of you who are starting out for the first time, and you're going to be doing a lot of this, nuts and bolts, you'll need to understand different terminologies such as UNC, UNF, and what that stuff means. It all comes in handy once you understand the abbreviations, because let's say you go into Home Depot or Lowe's and you need to get nuts and bolts. Well, you'll understand when you see the different numbers and abbreviations, you will understand it, and then you can make sure you purchase the correct nuts and bolts to get the job done correctly. Or if you're ordering something online. Screenshot this quickly, guys. It won't be up there long. Again, this goes along with the information that I just stated about understanding abbreviations. Want you folks that are doing this on a regular to remember that when you need helicoils, you can always go to eBay, Amazon, and purchase helicoil sets. When you are repairing the threads on like engine mounts, it's okay to use a little bit of blue thread locker around your helicoil before you insert it into the hole, okay? Now let's talk about thread repair. Thread repair. I have a bolt that a nut will not go over it, or it won't come off because the threads are busted for whatever reason, okay? So how do you fix this, guys? The same process. okay, you find the diameter of your bolt. I know that it's 6 millimeters. I know that also that it's a metric bolt because it's 50 millimeters long. Okay, I don't really need the length. So the diameter, 6 millimeters, and then you need to know the thread pitch. And I believe the thread pitch is 1.0. So it's an M6 1.0. So after you use your gauge, get your diameter and your thread pitch. Again, you don't need the length. Go to your tap and die set. On your tap and die set, you're going to match those numbers up to what's written on the tap and die. And notice they could do a better job when they make this. It says M6 there, guys, by 1.0. So then you're going to take your die, the correct size die, insert it just like so into your handle. And there are different types of die, tap and die sets, guys. They all do the same thing in the end. Tighten down your handle. And then what you're going to do is take your bolt, and you want to insert your bolt as straight as you possibly can into your hole, okay? FYI and warning, if you start to turn your bolt into a die and it's going in crooked, you're not going to be able to line it up and make it go straight, and that's because you're using the wrong size die, okay? So make sure that you get your diameter, you get your thread pitch, okay? And then you match those numbers up with the correct size die. Then, see where the bad threads are? I'm going to go ahead and drive the bolt down past the bad threads, guys. Yeah, lengthy video. At any point in time, if you feel a little bit of resistance, that's nothing but the die cutting threads. You're going to know when you've got to the bad threads because you will have such resistance. So now, let's go ahead and take that bolt out of your die. And that's what it looks like with the threads repaired. And now I should be able to turn this nut off with no problem. That is how you repair bad threads on a bolt, guys, okay? Just that easy. Now, before I let you go, I'm just trying to make sure, double check and make sure that I haven't overlooked anything to help you guys. Nope, that's about it, guys. That's all the information I can give you. I'm just going to give you a close-up on this stuff. Remember, anything with an M is metric. You see 3/8 or 5/16. That's usually the US system. Okay. Notice that the helicoil here is raised up. That's incorrect. It needs to be driven down beneath the surface. Make sure that if you mess up a hole and you need to go up to the next size, you use a bolt from the same category, okay? If it's a National Kors bolt, you need to use a National Kors bolt for the most part, okay? All right, guys, that's it. Hope the video has been informative. Thanks for watching, and take care. Catch you next time.